self-defense event happens in seconds. In the time it takes to listen to this commercial, your life could change forever. I pray you never forced to shoot in self-defense, but if you must, then you must be ready. That's why USCCA exists, because every responsibly armed American should have the training and the education to navigate the self-defense situation. And should you ever need it, the 24/7 critical response team is right there for you. To discover more about USCCA, visit uscca.com/GOR. Act now, because the life you save could be your own. That's uscca.com/GOR.
What's going on, Super Dave?
Oh, not much. Hey, so how'd you like the Monster Jam last night?
Good,
little sloppy?
Yes, good, but very cold and rainy.
Oh, you did get cold and rainy, too?
Yes.
You needed that hat last night. That's what you needed.
Yeah, that would have.
So did you get a chance to meet any of the drivers that I sent your dad the names on?
We did meet,
Cynthia?
Yeah,
Isn't
Cynthia.
Isn't she fun?
Yes.
Did you call her Frenchie? Because that's what she likes to be called. She's
no.
from Canada. Yo.
Next door, upstairs.
That's right up the road. Yeah. And then Tyler, did you get a chance to meet Tyler?
The one who drives Gravedigger?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Gravedigger.
Did you tell him I said hi?
No.
You forgot.
He said, Dave who?
See? He remembered you?
Yeah, from last year.
See? Doesn't remember the old guy. Always remembers the little guy. But you had a good time. I see you got some Monster Jam toys to play with.
Yeah, both Gravedigger
and
Son of
a Digger. See, you didn't think I knew that, did you?
Well, I just discovered yesterday they told the audience that Son of a Digger was actually born in 2011.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it was.
Is that when you were born?
2 years before I was born.
And you know what Son of a Digger is? It's a Jeep.
Oh.
Look at the front. Look at the front end. It's not like your mom's Jeep, but it
runs.
Yeah, but it's got.
It looks pretty similar.
Yeah, it does. Well, it's a diecast. But yeah, that's and Son of a Digger was his Dennis Anderson's son,
which was the original Gravedigger.
Correct, the one you have in your other hand. Except I've never seen it with purple wheels before. But did you see it with purple wheels last night?
No, I have one with purple wheels and the other one with silver wheels.
Right.
But those wheels aren't correct. The correct color scheme of the wheels are green.
That's exactly correctamundo. We're gonna.
I didn't know that.
Shall we start calling you Pedro?
Yes.
The hat fits.
So the correct color scheme for Gravedigger is green wheels. Huh?
Yes. Lime green, or fluorescent green. I guess we should be correct, right?
Yep. If you want to get fancy,
we should do Stump Jackson and ask him.
He doesn't know anything about Monster
Truck.
Jam. If he knows everything about Monster Jams, I'll be shocked.
He just knew the proper.
Well, I know, but I thought you were thinking of
color
Sam.
Scheme.
He might surprise you.
No. I mean, we should do that with Jackson. We should copy.
Jackson knows everything about Monster Jam.
Do you really?
And I do know they came out with a new monster truck, Electrorosaurus.
Oh, really? I've heard of it. I haven't seen pictures of it.
It's really cool. I'll Google a picture and show you.
All right, yeah, send it to me. So other than the weather, the racing wasn't all that good because it was just too sloppy.
Yeah.
Not very many jumps. Nobody did any backflips.
Actually, Gravedigger did and Cynthia did. They both did backflips.
Really? Off a dumpster or off one of those big C-van things?
Yeah, and Gravedigger stood on his front two wheels, surprisingly.
Cynthia, didn't she win freestyle?
No, she got second place.
Oh, okay.
Gravedigger got a perfect score of 12 points at all 3 rounds.
Look at that.
Shall we change the name of the show?
Yeah, really.
Monster Jam!
Yes, please.
With Action Jackson.
Who knew?
Well, the next time what we'll do is have you come in earlier and we'll just do a show on Monster Jam trucks. What do you think?
Yes, sir.
I knew you would. Ooh, I even got to say
you got a salute there.
So what do you got, son?
All right, listen, everybody. If you're in the Inland Empire, which is, of course, Riverside County or San Bernardino, then you're going to want to go to Inland Empire Gun Owners and check out their CCW seminar that's coming up. They're going to teach you how to get a CCW, Action Jackson, if you want a CCW. You're a little too young. You might not.
I already got one.
See, Orange County is also hosting online. These are online, by the way. It's a free online seminar in Orange County and Inland Empire that teaches you how to get your CCW. Of course, here in San Diego, check out our calendar. We have a number of in-person events that teach you how to get your CCW, your California CCW in San Diego. Also, this week are the monthly meetings. So Tuesday at North County Shooting Center, they all start at 6 o'clock. They all provide food. Tuesday is North County Shooting Center. Wednesday is Discount Gun Mart on Morena. And Thursday is, of course, Labella's Pizza. Main thing we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about a lot of things. We're going to talk about, we're going to go over, those listening sessions that they had. Mm-hmm. We're going to talk about the listening sessions. We're going to talk about a little bit about what happened because we've gone over what happened, but they're due to, they're going to release like a recap. Mm-hmm. So we want to talk about, all right, well, let's get ready. What does it mean? Like, what are we going to do with this recap? What can we do to stop the county from using this to further restrict our Second Amendment rights? We're going to talk a lot about that. So not just talk about it. We're going to try to do some things. We're going to tell you how you can be effective. So please come on down. Again, Tuesday, North County Shooting Center. Wednesday, Discount Gun Mart. And Thursday, Labella's Pizza. And then SHOT Show starts tomorrow. How about that? Alisha, have you ever been to SHOT Show?
Not yet.
I haven't been either.
You haven't been?
No, I need to.
Well, next year you can go on media passes.
All right.
Yeah.
On this show.
Jackson, you ever been?
No, I'm too young. I have to wait until I'm 16
What?
or be a part of one of the businesses that's run that SHOT Show.
I didn't know that.
I don't know. We might be able to get you media passes. Go
Well,
over there
producer
as a-
Rich is going.
Yes.
Yeah, well, he can go over as a celebrity.
Yes, please.
See? Just got to dress
So
him
polite.
up. Like,
So polite.
So if you're going, check out, reach out to Gun Owners Radio and connect with Rich.
Are you going?
I'm not going. I've never been.
Why aren't you going?
Well, there's a bunch of reasons. Honestly, I can't really think of a good business reason to go. I know a lot of people go because
funny
it's
you
neat.
say that because, like, people say, do you go to SEMA?
Yeah.
I go, nah, I went once, but I don't, spend a lot of money on a hotel and all that, and you walk for 5 days.
I listen, I could easily tell everybody out there, oh, well, I run San Diego County Gun Owners. I should go to SHOT Show, and they'd all believe me. But the reality is I'd just be walking around looking at cool stuff that I probably can't buy in California anyway.
Exactly.
So I'm not going to do that. This week's
The only way I think we should go.
Yeah. It's to set up and have a booth.
And have do the radio show.
Do a radio show. We'd probably do that. I think that'd be cool.
Get somebody like Winchester or somebody to foot the bill, and then I would do 6 hours.
But Rich is going to connect with people and promote Gun Owners Radio, and that's a real business reason to go. That's a real business. Yeah. I'm going to stay here and run the meetings, the monthly meetings, and we're going to try to stop San Diego County from
good luck.
restricting our gun rights. So, By the way, speaking of Rich, he set up a shop online. Have you seen it yet?
Yep.
Yeah?
I went shopping.
You went shopping?
I did.
You can buy all kinds of cool merchandise, Gun Owners Radio merchandise, including, first off, it's shop.gunownersradio.com. So shop.
And it's really cool stuff, too.
.gunownersradio.com, including that cool shirt that says, actually, it's pronounced Garand, which I think is
you got to send
awesome.
one. You got to send one of those to Sam.
Yeah, he's going to get one. I love it. It's so obnoxiously perfect.
It is.
It's so perfect and obnoxious.
And who doesn't like obnoxiously perfect? Yes.
I actually want one of those shirts badly.
Badly?
Yes.
That's how
I think it would look awesome on you.
You got too many clothes.
No, come on. Can't.
Look, you got a new hat. How'd you know that would fit his little beanie?
I don't know. Does it hit or fit, or is it a little small?
It fits.
You know what that kind of hat is called?
What?
It's called a pork pie hat.
It
It is. It's
Where'd
called a
you
pork
get
pie
that?
hat.
I would never wear it again.
Wear that. It's awesome. You look awesome.
We're going to start calling you Porky.
If anybody out there runs a ska band, we got a new lead singer here for you.
There you go.
I think you'd be perfect.
All right. Hey, if you have legal matters that involve firearms, and you need to call California's firearms lawyer, John Dillon, especially if it's about red flag laws, gun registration, gun transportation, or maybe you need to know that your guns are California compliant. Call our trusted firearms attorney, John Dillon. John Dillon specializes in California gun laws, 760-642-7150, or you can visit the website at DillonLawGP.com.
All right, so John Dillon's actually going to be calling in here any minute now, and what we really want to talk to John about is all the lawsuits that are coming up, or that are happening. There's actually quite a bit. There's a lot of action going on in the courts, and a lot of people don't have. There's a lot of dots to connect, and they don't have all the information, all the ins and outs, and the what have yous with all these dots. Because what happened was the Bruin case, the Supreme Court case came out, and that was huge. The Supreme Court just knocked it right out of the park. It was an awesome, awesome thing for the Second Amendment. So everybody was like, "All right, great, let's take this thing out for a drive, and really see what we can do." But not a lot happened. There wasn't a lot of real action, and the reason is there was in some parts of the country. I'm really specifically talking about California. And what happened was California passed a law that said if you sue the state based on, gun rights, unconstitutional gun rights, and lose any portion of it, any part of it, then you're on the hook for all the fees. So that was a big roadblock, and all these cases, the Miller case,
terrible
and everything.
When you stop and think about it.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. I mean, it really, it reminds when you read about like the Jim Crow South, and you read about like civil rights, and you read about some of these other struggles, what no matter what it is, and you hear about some of the laws that were passed, or that were preventing people from voting, or preventing people from doing various things, and you think like, man, that's horrible. How did they stand for that? How come people weren't up in arms and everything? This is as bad as that.
Yeah, and I'm telling you,
this is as bad as that stuff.
it's like being a bully in the room. He just happens to have a bigger stick, than we have, and they're taking a total advantage of us.
Oh yeah, but yeah, saying, hey, if you sue,
Yeah, we're gonna fix you.
we're gonna bankrupt you.
Right.
I mean,
that shouldn't
it's-
even be allowed. I mean, that just.
Yeah, it doesn't work the other way, by the way. Actually, it kind of does work the other way.
Yeah, right.
But so that put a big
Kibosh.
speed bump in the way,
Yeah.
and so they had to figure out, well, okay, well, what are we going to do about that? What are we going to do to fix that? And I'll tell you what happened was, and I thought this was really intelligent. Our attorneys on the Miller case, the assault weapons ban case, said, hey, look, we want to go forward on this, but we can't until we get a decision on this other thing, because we want to know if we're, that's an extremely important piece, to being able to move forward. So we need you to rule on this and put it in front of Judge Benitez, Saint Benitez himself. And
he's going to leave California if we keep this up. He's going to move out. He's going to go to Texas.
I've already thought about. I can't remember if I told you this or not, but when he first ruled on something Second Amendment, and it was the Duncan case, the Freedom Week, it was the magazine ban. I was like, man, I got to get this guy on the radio. We got to get him to some kind of function. We got to have him a guest speaker. And everybody said, no, don't touch him. Stay away. You don't want to prevent him from being able to take a case again.
You don't want to taint the soup.
Yeah. So I thought, yeah, that's smart. That's true. Let's just wait, because there's so much more work to be done. But I'll tell you this: when he does retire, there is going to be a massive celebration. Not celebration as in we're happy that he's retiring, but it is inevitable. He's going to have to retire. It's going to be a celebration, of course, of the work that he's done, and I'm anticipating him doing in the future. So we asked Benitez, hey, we want to move forward on this thing, but we need some kind of ruling on this other thing. Otherwise, it's a crucial piece here. We don't know if we can move forward on the Miller case without that. And so that turned into Miller 2, Electric Boogaloo, and he ruled. He said, "Yep, this is unconstitutional. Forget it. Scrap it." And of course, the Attorney General said, "Hey, we're not going to fight this thing." That's how bad that stupid law is. When the Attorney General, Bonta is as bad as they get, right? I mean,
True.
he as far as stupid laws go, as far as being anti-gun,
Well, I don't know.
it's not like Bonta's not considered middle of the road.
No.
He's pretty extreme. So for him to say, that's this law is so unconstitutional and so dumb, I'm not even going to defend it.
Right.
That's how bad it is. That's a statement. That says something.
Yeah.
So anyway, he said
battle.
he wasn't going to defend it. Now, one thing that is happening, of course, is the governor still wants to step in and pay for it himself and say, "Hey, I'm going to pay for the attorneys. I'm going to say I believe I have standing to continue this thing. So I want to defend it."
He's not going to use his money.
Well, donor money.
Yeah, it's not going to be his money.
But it's not tax money. You're right. It's not his money, but it's not our money. It's donor money.
I would even question that.
It'll be from like one of his 501c3s or whatever, But
maybe it'll come from his aunt.
From his aunt.
Yeah,
You think?
Pelosi.
Yeah, no, I know.
She'll kick in.
I don't know. I think she's got some. I have a feeling there's some legal fees she's going to have to worry about for herself here going into whatever the heck's going on with her husband. And
oh my Lord!
And
that's why she's going to make it to Italy.
Do you think he's totally off subject? Do you guys think that she's going to get swept up in this whole classified documents situation?
I don't know if she'll get swept up in that, unless she owns a Corvette.
I was going to say she didn't have a Corvette. So.
She didn't have a Corvette. But hey, the door was locked. Come on.
For the Corvette?
Yeah, the door was locked. Come on.
But it's a convertible.
Who lived there for how many years? Yeah, Hunter. He would never look.
Yeah.
Somebody sent me a picture of Hunter, and they're having a garage sale, and there's 3 big letter boxes of top secret for sale.
Nice.
It's going to be when you didn't think it could get any crazier, right?
Yeah, no kidding.
I mean, when you didn't think there would be anything at all. I'll have to show you on Breakers. It shows a picture of Hunter laying by the pool. And he says, all my dad asked me to do was just clean out the garage.
It's so exhausting.
It is.
One of the best things I've done in the last year is
stop
watching the news.
I know.
Oh, yeah.
No, but you're missing the best show on town.
Fine. Good.
I'll
miss it. The show I am seeing is so much better.
Yeah, well, I'm sure. That's whatever's out your windshield, right?
All right, so anyway, the Miller case, let's get back to that. So the Miller case,
I guess John's not calling in.
Is he not calling in? That's
I
too bad.
texted him.
So did I. I wonder what happened there. Well, let's run down a couple of these.
Fallbrook, he's floating right by us.
So the Miller case, that's unusual. He's usually, Miller versus Bonta, that's the one that's going to overturn the assault weapons ban. Of course, we talked about that. So what are we waiting for? Well, the state submitted a bunch of stuff. Our side submitted a bunch of stuff because what happened was Benitez said, hey, in light of Bruin, submit whatever arguments you guys want. And the state said, all right, cool. Give us like 1.5 years. And he said, no, you get like 60 days. So they submitted everything. Now, what the state was trying to do was prove that an assault weapons ban was historical. In other words, it's in line with what's happened in history.
Mm-hmm.
And they submitted some examples, and it was nothing. It was absolutely nothing. They had examples of like people. There was a law in New York back 150 years ago or so, where I think it was New York, where you couldn't carry like a concealed billy club or something like that. I mean, it was really or a concealed something
like a blackjack.
It had absolutely nothing to do with an assault weapons ban.
Is that kind of like bump stocks?
What do you mean?
Do you even remember a bump stock?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, look at the big deal they made out of bump stocks. Got them taken care of.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, that's totally, yeah, that's.
But it's in the same realm that they just keep throwing, against the wall.
Arguing
See
about
what it'll
features.
say. By the way, we're actually going to talk about that in the next to the last
Bump
segment.
stocks?
We're going to talk about bump stocks because Sam wrote a really good article. Did you guys read it?
No.
He wrote an excellent article this
On
last
bump
week
stocks?
on bump stocks. We're going to talk about it
That is good.
at the 5:30 mark. We're going to talk about it. So let's save that for 5:30.
Sure. So anyway,
what I'm saying is Bonita has already ruled on Miller, and it was already in the context or through the lens of what Bruin already said, which has to do with history, text, tradition. So I think any day now, I actually expected it before the end of the year. Any day now, we're going to get a very positive decision on the assault weapons ban. Now, what happens from there? I don't know. There's no way. There's
because
like a dozen
they
different.
will figure out a way. Because for every time we move one step forward, they're constantly trying to figure out a way to push us back 2 steps.
Yeah, I mean, it is, but here's the other thing, and it's that's true. But this is why we made San Diego County gun owners and Orange County and Inland Empire. This is why we made these groups, because this is normal for lawsuits. Lawsuits take decades and millions of dollars. And the reason is because it's so important. So they have appeals and multiple appeals and different ways that judges can rule and that sort of thing.
Aren't you surprised I haven't tried to shut down San Diego County gun owners?
Who would do that?
State of California.
Well, good luck. I mean, listen, I got to tell you,
really?
the way. Well, there are some things that they have done and are trying to do to make PACs. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that right when we get to the.
Orange County Gun Owners is dedicated to preserving and restoring Orange County self-defense rights. And if you live in Orange County and want to help defend and restore the Second Amendment, you need to join ocgunowners.com/join. Orange County Gun Owners is the do something organization to restore and defend the Second Amendment. Volunteer at a shooting social, at a gun shop, tabletop, and help more pro-gun local officials get elected. Become a member today. ocgunowners.com/join.
All right, Schmedley, what were you supposed to remind us of?
I forget.
Good job.
Good
job.
So actually, we were talking about
PACs.
How
Okay, so here's where we're going to go to.
Because they don't like them.
Well, they don't, and they've done a lot to try to regulate them, and they're doing even more to try to make it more difficult. But you know why PACs exist was actually the result of not why they exist, but one of the reasons they can't do a lot to them is because of the what was the case? What was the case? What the heck was the case? It just slipped out of my head. Oh, Citizens United. Okay. So the Citizens United case. Not a lot of people know that.
Okay, I didn't know.
But the Citizens United case, that was the one where Democrats, Republicans said, hey, we don't want there to be limits on how much money you can spend on politics. And Democrats said, oh, gee, a corporation doesn't have rights. Remember that a few years ago? Mm-hmm. Corporation doesn't have rights. What they were saying was that if two people get together, if I take my money, if I take $1,000 and say, hey, I'm going to go print up flyers that say vote for Bob Smith, right? Then, okay, that's your right. You can do that. That's First Amendment. But if you and I, Dave, if you have $1,000 and I have $1,000, and we go spend and we do it together, then they're saying, hey, if it's a corporation, we form, a corporation like we I don't know, do an S corp or something, an LLC, and then take that $2,000. If we do that, then somehow we suddenly lose our rights. Because we use an entity for tax reasons, that somehow we lose our right to the First Amendment. So that's the Citizens United in a nutshell. That's what the decision said. Well, a PAC, that's all it is. Yeah. All a PAC is a bunch of people. I mean, it could be one person, but it's a bunch of people in our case who say, hey, we're going to pool our money and we're going to do things politically. That's all it is. So is
there a law against that?
No, in fact, the Citizens United protects us from them making laws against that.
Because that seems to be the norm. If they try things and to make it sound like there's a law against it, but they never materialize with a law.
Right. Well, and then step 2 is they make a bunch of laws to try to just make it harder. Right. So that's why when you donate to San Diego County Gun Owners, you donate to Orange or Inland Empire, when you donate to one of the organizations, that's why you have to give your full name. That's why we have to get your address,
your zip
your
code,
occupation, what you do for a living.
Email.
Actually, that's not required. We just do that. we just want to be able to email you and say happy birthday.
Sure.
But so that's Citizens United. That's why we will always be able to exist because of the Citizens United Supreme Court case. So if you're a part of a PAC, if you're donating to a PAC, you are very much in favor and happy about the Citizens United decision. Okay, so we had some questions. So we talked about the Miller case. One of the other cases is the roster. And a couple people on YouTube actually asked, how is the, what's going on with the roster? What's going to happen with the Bruin case as far as the roster goes? There are a couple of different roster cases. The one that we're involved with is the Rena case, RENA. And Rena, for those of you who don't know, she was my neighbor. And she was trying to buy a Smith & Wesson Shield EZ. Mm-hmm. And the EZ...
exactly what it stands for.
It's easy. It's easy to rack the slide, right?
Absolutely.
Instead of hard.
Yeah, you don't want to buy the Smith & Wesson Shield hard.
No, you want the easy.
You want the easy, not the hard. And don't even think about buying the Smith & Wesson Shield Impossible.
Oh my Lord!
You
can get that in California. I think.
Of course.
That was on the
It's impossible.
They just super glue the slide to the frame,
and it works fine.
It's ridiculous. Anyway, so what are we saying? What are we doing here?
We're asking. Well, okay. What
do we do here?
Did
Dave?
she get her?
No. So she went. What happened was she actually went to another state. She has issues with her hands, with her grip, with arthritis. And so she went to another state and said, "Hey,
I have arthritis.
This Smith & Wesson EZ." This I can rack. I can actually rack this slide. She came back to California and said, "Hey, wait a minute. Why can't I buy this here?" Mm-hmm. So she reached out and said, her husband actually is a friend of mine. Tony's a good dude. Said, "Hey, what's the deal? Why can't we buy it?" And I explained to them the roster case. We just happened to be in the middle of coming up with a case for the roster, and she became a plaintiff. She's actually the named plaintiff on the case. So how will this affect that? Overall, we're gonna knock it out of the park. We're gonna get rid of that roster.
You think?
There's no question in my mind. Time frame, just a matter of time. Time frame. I think I'm gonna say within 5 years the roster will be effectively gone. Now, will there still be some kind of roster? Will there still be some kind of
you can't have a cannon
dropped? Yeah. Well, I think what we'll end up with is there'll be some kind of drop test, some kind of safety test. But the part that you can't comply with, which is the microstamping, will be gone. That part will be gone. But guess how many guns have been kept out of California due to the safety test? Just the safety test.
Isn't it easier to count the ones that are in?
No, 0. Not one has been kept out of California because of the safety test. So the safety test portion where they send it to a lab and they drop it and they check it and inspect it and everything.
Okay.
Yeah. So that portion, not one has failed. Not one. Because that's how high quality the firearms industry is.
Can't you just see them going, darn
it? Well, but the important part of that is it's not going to keep guns out of California. The microstamping is what keeps guns out of California. So will there still be a roster? There might be some form of roster. They might still have to, go through this like a drop test or a safety test or have a lab test it, that sort of thing. But the important thing is you're still going to be able to buy firearms. You're still going to be able to buy the firearms that you can't buy now. You won't. They won't require the microstamping.
They're constantly going to try to figure out a way to stop that.
That's why we exist.
That's why they have lawyers.
And that's why we have lawyers.
They take away that guise of that unrealistic, unnecessary requirement that they put in place.
Okay. Yeah. But they're going to continue to try and continue to vilify, weapons until they get their way.
Well,
or the problem is there's going to be more people with weapons than them.
And it's up to gun owners to decide if they're going to stand in the way or not.
Well, if California keeps going on the route they're going, losing people, losing businesses, losing seats, it's going to come to a point where they're going to have a hard time, keeping themselves in this little bubble.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that.
That's just a matter of time as well.
I agree. I think that what was the In-N-Out just moved there. In-N-Out Burger just moved their headquarters out of state.
Yeah, go figure. Huh?
In-N-Out. I mean, there's what burger is more? I mean, McDonald's actually started in San Bernardino,
right?
And it's not more California than In-N-Out Burger.
No. Chick-fil-A, when they go, we know it's over.
Is Chick-fil-A from California?
No,
I don't think so.
How do you know that? Are you a aficionado on Chick-fil-A?
Once upon a time, I read something. I don't know.
So the Rena case is going to get. I don't know if that's the other thing, by the way. I don't know if the Rena case is actually going to get rid of the roster.
Mm-hmm. But if one doesn't, another one will.
But there's another lawsuit out there that hopefully will as well. Now, there's a couple other ones. Let me kind of run down here. The Wynn case, NGUYEN versus Bonta, challenges California's 1 in 30 firearms purchase ban. There's not much to report on that one. It's just continuing to make its way. Don't know when. Don't know, the time frame on that. Jones versus Bonta. We're actually looking for. That's the one. Jones is the 18 to 20. So if you're an adult, 18, 19, 20 years old, and you want to purchase a firearm in California, you can't. They've banned you from purchasing a firearm through most channels. So we're challenging that, and we're actually looking for. We're going to add. I think what we're going to do is add some more plaintiffs to that, and that's going to make its way. Fully believe that's going to win. The FAR case, FAHR versus San Diego. That's the challenge for the city of San Diego. That's your ghost gun challenge, Dave. I know you like ghost guns.
I love them. By the way, Chick-fil-A is in Atlanta.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. You know why I remember that? Because they have a milkshake that's peach, and they cook all their stuff in peanut oil and peanuts and peaches.
There you go.
Right?
McDonald's,
it's all about
Chicago,
Georgia.
Illinois.
Well, but they started here.
Yeah.
The very first one was here in San Bernardino.
Popeyes is Miami.
Really? I love that chicken from Popeyes.
You like that chicken?
From Popeyes.
From Popeyes?
So
I thought you're a Lebanese guy.
I like that too.
Told
I'm
my
just a
wife.
food guy.
Told my wife he caught fire.
Who?
You.
What do you mean?
The Lebanese food we had the other night.
Oh no, that
was Himalayan.
Himalayan.
She laughed because she told me, "Don't you be careful with the numbers."
It was good.
I come home. I said, "You're not going to believe what Michael had." She goes, "What? A 5?" I go, "No, he had a 7."
I had a 7.
And the sweat was rolling off of me.
Oh, it was so tasty though. Wasn't it good, Alisha?
I did a 3, and it was good.
Yeah.
I could have gone higher, but
You think?
I like tasting food. When there's too much spice, it for me.
And your tongue is literally flaming. Anyway,
Yeah.
we were digress.
Yeah, we went to for those listening. We went to dinner at a Himalayan place,
cuisine.
Himalayan cuisine in La Mesa.
After teasing me
delicious.
that we were going to go to the trailer park after dark.
Yeah, we can't have a meeting at trailer park after
You
dark.
don't know? You've never been there?
It's too loud. It's like going to like TGI Fridays,
You could have went
trying
into
to have
the
a nice
little
quiet meeting.
14-foot Terry trailer and close the door.
I tried to go to Olive Garden the other day and pulled into the parking lot, went in, sat down, and realized I was at Chili's. You know how unbelievably disappointing it is when you're trying to go to
They
Olive
don't have
Garden? and you end
spaghetti
up
there,
at
do they?
And
They don't have anything.
Oh, my
Why
God.
would anybody go to Chili's?
You know, you're right. I used to like
There's
Chili's.
nothing
It's
at Chili's.
terrible.
It really is.
Hey, did you know we have a world-class flight training school right here in San Diego? Pilots can fly almost every day. We're close to the ocean as well as the desert, mountains, and the mountains. SDFTI's instructors can help you learn to navigate around the international border and military bases. That's why San Diego is one of the best places to learn how to fly in the world. Learn to fly in sunny San Diego right at Montgomery Field. Getting started is super easy. Call 858-569-1822. Learn to fly with SDFTI. 858-569-1822. So, hey, action. Did he give you that watch with the correct time, or do you have to figure it out?
What time does it say?
It looks pretty complicated
I
for
fixed it
Michael
for him. It's right.
It is
as the bell rings.
See,
It should be
it should be. He didn't.
40.
He didn't set it, did he?
440-ish.
Are you sure?
Yeah, that's close
All right.
enough.
446.
Nice.
7.
Nice job. That's a good looking watch.
That is.
Look at how high tech it looks.
You should trade him.
Ish.
You should trade him for the one he's wearing.
Is it digital and analog? It's got like all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. It'll start your Jeep
I wish.
if you push the button. Well, push the button and Michael will go out the window. you like that idea?
How dare you?
How dare us? Okay,
I think it looks good.
I do love the color coordinations.
Yeah, right. It matches his hat.
Yeah, it does. Did he get you socks too?
They say
No.
They say that. They say they want you're supposed to your watch and your belt and your hat, right, and your shoes are all supposed to, right? Yeah, Walt knows. Walt's back there. Your shoes and your belt, at least. I might have thrown in the hat part.
Okay, ask Walt about your gig line.
Oh, I know about. I was a Boy Scout. I remember gig lines.
Still.
Do you still?
I still gig it.
I do too.
It's a terrible thing, but I do.
I do too. The
And
only
the
one
length of your tie as well.
you only wear T-shirts. What do you
I
worry
know,
about?
but, hey, I had to wear all that
What?
stuff.
Where's the line?
Hey, for 30 years as a service manager, I had to wear that stuff.
Oh.
And if you think my car shirts were wild, you should see my ties. But anyway, that's another story.
All right. Hey,
I'd like to see your ties.
I got some killer ties. You're just too tall, otherwise you'd drag on the ground.
Uh,
But I could get you one when you get taller. What do you think?
Sure.
You'll take all the stuff I got. I know you. All the toys.
Like all that stuff you gave us
Yeah.
the 1 week.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Forgot about that.
Yeah. All right. So I did something cool a few weeks ago, and it's up on our YouTube. If you go to youtube.com/gunownersradio, you'll find our YouTube channel, and please go there and subscribe. So we were talking about, and you know, at this week's meetings in San Diego, we're going to talk about the listening sessions, and we've talked about the listening sessions quite a bit. One of the things that happened in the listening sessions is Rich met somebody that was there, kind of in an advisory capacity, not really necessarily making a decision or whatever. But one of the things that they did do is they put together, I don't know, like half a dozen or so, or 10 people who were somehow community leaders and somehow related to the idea of, you know, gun violence prevention. And we did a Magnum episode with this guy. His name's Sergio Gonzalez. He's actually a very interesting guy. And gun owner, too, by the way. Gun owner, generally supportive of the Second Amendment. You know, that's certainly, I wouldn't describe it as his priority, you know, like he's not in our universe, but definitely philosophically lined up with what we're trying to achieve.
Otherwise, you wouldn't be a gun owner or Second Amendment guy.
Well, yeah, I guess. I mean, I know a lot of gun owners who don't line up with us philosophically. Isn't that weird? You know, so there are a lot
How
of.
could that be?
There are certain. Well, I'll tell you. I know guys. Now, not exclusively. There okay. So there are people that just like, hey, they just think, hey, I'll own, you know, a simple, you know, handgun with a 10-round magazine to defend myself.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, that part I agree with. But I don't think you should have an AR. You know, I don't think you should have 15-round magazines.
Gotcha.
I don't think you should have this, that, and the other thing. Another subset are people that have a firearm for work. You know.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of look at it more as like a tool, and think, well, yeah, I'm, you know, in the military, or I'm law enforcement, or I'm security, and I should have one, but not you. There's a lot of those.
Yeah.
And you,
Emerling comes to mind.
There's a lot of people, too, that believe you should have one for home defense, but you shouldn't be allowed to carry.
Right.
yeah,
So, yeah.
that's another.
And locked up in a safe in the basement, unloaded
Mm-hmm.
behind. Yeah.
With your key buried in the backyard.
So he's a gun owner and philosophically generally in line. We didn't get down into every single issue. I didn't get down too far into the weeds as far as what he believes in, you know, the Second Amendment. But he was definitely with us generally philosophically from a certain level, which I was very appreciative of. Sergio Gonzalez is, so we did a Magnum episode, which means it's about an hour long, uninterrupted 1 hour interview. And Sergio does something pretty amazing for a living. Whenever there is a like a homicide or something, so some kind of serious traumatic crime in San Diego. He is a part of an organization that they supply support for the victims. So let's say somebody's murdered. They come and they help the victim. Somebody, like say a man is murdered and he left behind a wife and 2 kids.
Oh,
they help the wife and 2 kids.
gotcha.
Like
a support group.
Like exactly, like a support resource that helps with anything. From logistics, like, okay, what do I do? Like, how do I plan a funeral?
Yeah.
That kind of stuff too.
What do I do with the body?
Clean up, but all the way to things like mental health. Like, hey, I'm in a horrible spot. How do I get support? How do I get the kind of help I need to, someone close to me just died or something like that.
Well, there's those long-term needs, and there's also sometimes the short-term of just needing someone to sit with you for right now, so they're not alone.
Yeah, and that's a heck of a job. You know what I mean? Going to you're meeting somebody on most likely the very worst day of their life, and supporting them through it.
I did it for a period of time.
Really?
Yeah, there's a program. Yeah, there's a couple of them here in San Diego County that are not going to be community specific, but the one that I went through was called the TIPS program. So it's Trauma Intervention Program, I believe is what it's called.
Wow. How did you get connected with that?
I heard someone speak about it at a conference I was at, not firearms related, just completely, just separate. And I thought it sounded interesting. And you go through about 6 months of training, if I remember correctly, and you basically are on call for a shift a number of times a month. I forget the exact number of days a month I was on call for like a 12-hour shift. And if something happens, you get called out.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. So, how long did you do it?
I didn't last very long, about a year.
I gotta tell you, Dave. Yeah. I mean, you say that kind of joke. I think I would do it once and be like, oh my god, I can't do this.
I wouldn't even look into it. I'm sorry. I can help you. I can go down to the grocery store and get you a carpet cleaner. But that's about
drop it off.
That's about as close as I can get.
That's very
pull down the truck bed, roll it off.
Good Lord, Dave.
Well,
Alisha, that's very cool of you. So you did it for about a year,
right?
And
how many cases did you go to?
Oh, I didn't count.
How would you describe your experience?
It was hard. It was hard. I think the part of the reason that they're constantly in need is because you get burned out. It's emotional. It's hard.
Yeah.
And they kind of cycle through people pretty quickly, and because it is tough. And some people are long term.
A lot of people
and stick
take
around.
that stuff home with you.
You do.
Well, Sergio does it. It was really amazing. He was a pretty fascinating interview, and he wasn't. I think that it's easy to assume it was. I was assuming he was against us, and he's not. And it was nice that he's in the mix and that voice is there.
But stop and think about what he does.
That's what I'm saying.
Will definitely could change your attitude towards a firearm.
Right.
So I could see where it's almost like Alisha said, guy has a gun, but, only uses it for work and never uses it anywhere. Doesn't go shooting, doesn't practice, doesn't do anything.
So, Dave, that's the interesting part.
That's the crutch.
That this guy goes, I don't know, he visits murder victims regularly.
Yeah.
And helps them. It's part of his job.
Think about it as part of that. If you had someone who was murdered and they have had the ability to defend themselves, I can see it through.
2 minutes.
Not every murder happens with a firearm, but
no.
But if you have one to defend yourself to help prevent
and you could see that if you've seen a family, 4 kids and just think if they'd have had a firearm and they could have protected themselves, he might still be here.
And Sergio comes from a rough background. He never not a criminal background, but he came from a rough neighborhood. His love of art helped him become a successful guy, and now he's doing an amazing job. And I encourage everybody to go to our YouTube channel and watch this interview because it really is fascinating. It's an interesting person doing interesting things, and not the whole thing.
Did you get permission from Tucker Carlson to do these?
What do you mean?
Because that's what he does.
We've been doing it longer than that. We've been doing Magnum episodes for longer than Tucker. Tucker's been stealing all my materials.
He does these 1 hour.
I used to wear a bow tie when I was 7 years old. And that guy started wearing it. I mean, come on.
You said that was enough. Well, that's.
But check it out. So youtube.com/Gun Owners Radio. Check out Sergio. And it's the latest Magnum episode. And subscribe to our YouTube channel.
You got it. And don't forget, join.
Always.
Inland Empire gun owners strive to be the ounce of prevention in the fight for your gun rights. How do they do it? They do it by fundraising and getting local pro-gun candidates elected. Become a member today. Go to iegunowners.com/join and join the growing number of responsible gun owners stepping up to defend our Second Amendment right. That's iegunowners.com/join.
All right, welcome to Gun Owners Radio. It is Michael Schwartz, Dave Stahl, Alisha Curtin, and of course, Action Jackson. How are you, buddy?
Hey, good. How are you?
Fantastic. Okay, so we have a prize winner. If you go to gunownersradio.com and sign up to be on our newsletter, we're going to give you, we're going to give away, not give everybody, we're going to pick a winner to get a Gun Owners Radio prize pack. And last week we have a winner it's actually for a Gun Owners Radio T-shirt, Wendy Clark. Congratulations, Wendy.
I know Wendy. I've worked with her.
I know Wendy too. She's the best.
I don't know her.
Dave, I don't know she's lucky.
I know. That's what I thought too.
So Wendy, you got a T-shirt coming to you. We're gonna get a hold of you and get you a T-shirt.
Hope she likes extra
shipped
small.
out to you. Join the email newsletter, gunownersradio.com/subscribe, and you could win a prize too. And of course, we were talking earlier, don't forget to pick up your merch. Go buy some merch at shop.gunownersradio.com. So shop.gunownersradio.com. So we got a new segment. We're calling it Curtain Call. And what we're going to do is Alisha Curtin.
I leave you guys alone for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Dad's
Thumbs
away.
up.
We're going to play.
It didn't even take 15.
Yeah, I
No.
bet it didn't. You guys just waited till I left.
Alisha Curtin in Curtain Call is going to talk about she's going to pick her favorite defensive gun use story from across the country, and we're going to talk about it.
Okay.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Oh, now?
Yep.
Oh,
Oh, my
Launch
God.
it.
well, I thought we were rolling it to later. Sorry. All
Well,
right.
we're going to talk. I think let's start it now. So the idea,
Okay.
let me set it up just a tiny bit more, and then we'll talk a little bit about. You'll just give a hey, this we're going to talk about, and then we'll spend the next segment really delving into it. But one of the things about defensive gun use in the United States is that it just doesn't get talked about enough.
Who's that guy that does the website that
John
Correa.
Correa.
John Correa.
So John Correa does an excellent job.
You
But
look
even
at those.
Oh, yeah.
But even John Correa, he uses it as a training tool. So he has a big audience, like 1.5 million
All right,
people.
be careful. This is what you do, not what you should do.
Yeah, and it's great.
Yeah.
But it's what concerns me is how many times, like a mainstream media outlets talk about crime, and they don't talk about defensive gun use. Doesn't make it to the headlines often enough.
Did you see the latest one? If I can just throw this in real quick. Guy was at a little taco shop. Guy
Yes.
comes in.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
Shot him 9 times in the back.
I don't know all the details.
No, I mean, that's I'm telling you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
He shot him 9 times and was not charged.
Yeah.
There was
Yet.
So
be your story.
and honestly, I started down that path. But anyway, we'll talk about that one another time. But I know when I'm in media, when I talk to local KUSI, local ABC, NBC, CBS, et cetera, I always bring up the fact that between 1 and 3 million times per year, there's some kind of level of defensive gun use. That doesn't mean they always pull the trigger. Doesn't mean they always shoot somebody. Sometimes they just
Do they give you a stare when you say that?
Well, what I do is I use it to kind of pivot the conversation. Because a lot of times what they'll do is they'll say, well, gee, what horrible gun law
gee
do
golly.
you support? And I'll say, well, we'll talk about the fact that, hey, between 1 and 3 million times per year, somebody uses a firearm to defend themselves. So what I support are laws that defend and protect a person's right to be able to defend themselves. You know what I mean? So
That's perfect.
So, Alisha, talk about what's the
raise the curtain.
Give us the 1, 2, 3.
So, so last week we kind of touched on this a little bit. So, the story that I chose for this week was actually the one story that I actually thought about bringing up a couple weeks ago on air, and the opportunity didn't provide itself. So, it's kind of what got me thinking about this whole concept. It comes out of Florida, and it's a story. I don't want to give away just yet, but what I want to kind of lead into is get you guys thinking about. And like I said, we did hint to this last week with Joe. Is the idea of a third-party encounter. This story deals with someone who steps into a third-party encounter. It's a fight that was not his, and he steps in. And as a concealed carry permit holder, you have to you especially really need to kind of think these kind of things through. A lot of people think, okay, I've got this firearm. It's a great tool. I can defend myself, and if I need to, I can defend others. But really, you got to put some thought into what are you willing to step into? Because if you do have to draw and pull that firearm, you're putting yourself at great legal risk. And are you willing to do that for just anybody? There's a whole mindset too of if you have to just shut the door and walk away, maybe make that 911 phone call, be a good witness. There's some heartache that goes with that too. But you kind of everybody has to make their own decisions and decide on their own what they're willing to put up with, what they're willing to do, what they're willing to step in and put their freedom at risk for. So this one comes out of Florida. It's a gentleman who saw an encounter between two people. He witnessed the fight. The article did not state clearly how much of that fight that he saw, because one of the risks that you have with a third-party encounter is if you don't see the whole thing, you don't know necessarily who the aggressor is. If you just turn the corner and you see someone holding a gun to someone else's head, a lot of us would, feel the need to kind of defend and to stop that person holding the firearm. However, what if that person just took the firearm away from the attacker and they are simply trying to hold them on the ground till the police arrive? Something, along those lines. You don't know the whole story.
That's terrible.
And legally speaking, and it was great. They had the legal use of I forget what the actual meeting was called just the other day.
Legal use of force?
Yeah, well, you had a name for this meeting. The name is escaping me. And he had a really great analogy, and I really like that a lot. The idea is that if the person that is being harmed would have the legal use of being able to legally use deadly force to defend themselves, and you do it on their behalf because you have the ability and they do not, you do have the law that would stand on your side to some degree. If they do not have that protection of being able to use deadly force to defend themselves, and you step in and you decide that you need or want to use deadly force, you don't have that protection of the law that kind of goes with you. So there's a lot of liability when you go into these situations. So you really need to be very careful, make that decision for yourself, and be mindful, do you know the whole story? Because what if you're helping the wrong person?
I had somebody in a class ask me once. He said, what if you walk up and a guy is raping a woman? Can you shoot the guy? And I said, well, yeah. And he said, well, what if they're actually, what if you find out that it's consensual? And I said, well, but that's not what you said. You said that he was, what if he's raping somebody, right?
Very few couples do that as a.
Well, but if it's consensual, it's not rape.
That's what I just.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Right.
So it's it went back to his terminology, but it's so enormously risky.
Mm-hmm.
It's so enormously
risky.
risky.
It's just risky getting
to step
involved
in.
when you really
Yeah.
come right
It
down
is.
to it.
It is.
So this came out of this. You said this was
Out of
in
Florida.
Florida,
Out of Florida.
which is Castle Doctrine, stand your ground,
So what happened?
pro Second
Well,
Amendment. Well, we're going to talk about it in
gonna-
the next
just
segment
a little
here.
bit of a tease.
But
You
we're,
guys are taking forever to tell a
I know,
story.
I know.
You're bad as Schwartz and they dropped the mic.
It's well anyway. So the next segment we're going to talk about exactly what happened, give all the details, and give some feedback.
Stay
on it.
tuned.
How did you find this story, by the way?
This one, I just was kind of browsing through. Certain headlines catch your eye. This one just caught my eye.
Hey, a lot of companies are super unhappy with their website. Looks old, it's out of date, it's not getting customers. But Sage Tree gets it. Since 2005, Sage Tree has been helping companies with websites that look great, work great, and get leads. Stop being frustrated by your website and get one that you're proud to share. Contact Sage Tree today to get a website that makes the phones ring. Getting started is super easy. 866-728-9100. That's 866-728-9100. And get your website fixed today.
So, Alisha, we were talking about a defensive gun use situation,
Correct.
a story that you read, and you said that the headline grabbed you.
It did.
So why don't you describe the situation in detail and tell exactly what happened?
Okay, so we'll start with the headline. So this is the headline that I saw. It says, Florida man saves pregnant woman from partner who was brutally punching and kicking her.
Jeez.
So, so out of Florida. So it just really quickly, it's a short article. I'm just read it to you really quickly, and then we'll kind of dive in. So it says a Florida man armed with a firearm intervened to stop a brutal attack on a pregnant woman in a Publix parking lot on Saturday. The Pinellas County Sheriff's Office said that Cole Joseph Danisment, age 27, became furious with the Florida pregnant woman carrying his child and began hitting her at a Publix parking lot, landing some punches on her face. Even after she fell to the ground, Danisment continued to attack the woman who was 14 weeks pregnant. He stomped on her head and her upper body. A man nearby saw the attack and thought the assault was so brutal in nature that he feared for her life. He pulled out his firearm and stopped the attack, which the attacker did stop. So the responding officers reported that the victim was covered in large amounts of blood and may have suffered a fractured nose. The Florida pregnant woman and the attacker have been dating for about a year, living together for about a month. Dana Smith was arrested for domestic abuse, showing a pattern of violent behavior in his past towards her. It prompted the court to issue a no-contact order. Dana Smith reportedly told police he had seen red before he blacked out, and he did not deny the attack.
Wow.
So did the other guy shoot him?
No, he did not. He simply
Just stuck the gun
correct.
in his face. Okay.
Well, it doesn't state if he pointed. We don't know if he pulled it.
Oh, okay.
Just simply showed. Maybe lifted his shirt. It doesn't clarify. But he did not actually have to use it by way of trigger pull.
So
He
now
used it.
I actually have a connection to this story.
Do you really?
I've been to the Publix in Pinellas County. I'm not even joking. That's what my grandmother lived there. When I was a kid, I'd go there in the summer. I'd spend like a month with her, and she loved Publix. She was all about Publix. It's their Vons or their Ralphs.
Mm-hmm.
And just to let you know, if you've never been to Pinellas County, Florida,
Never been.
You haven't missed anything?
well, not surprised that this story came from Pinellas County,
Okay.
Florida. It's
It's that kind of place.
It's that kind of place, and unfortunately, in the '80s, and especially from what I understand, I stopped going in the late '80s, but in the '90s, it really, really
Hasn't gotten better?
drugs, drugs, and it was a lot of World War II generation folks moved down there and retired, from like places like my grandparents were from Pennsylvania. A lot of people from Pennsylvania, Jersey, New York. They moved down there, retired, and then it just, their grandchildren, their great-grandchildren now are just a mess.
Really?
It's like I said, drugs, and it's just not a good place. Now, I'm sure there are great places in Pinellas County, but overall, I'm just not surprised that some jerk beat up his pregnant girlfriend in a Publix parking lot in Pinellas County, Florida. Now, it's amazing. So this guy, it sounds like he didn't have to shoot.
Correct. I tried to look for follow-up articles or to see if there's any other information. It obviously didn't make mainstream media. I couldn't find any other information on it, but I thought that it was still something valuable to talk about. So,
I arguably saved this woman's life.
correct.
For the time being.
Unfortunately, that's
Well,
the
see,
way it does go a lot.
See, that's the problem. Oh, well, we got a restraining order.
Well, that's a whole nother issue.
Well, what the hell is that
Right.
good? That's not going to do you any good.
No.
No restraining order.
No.
What
But
do
the
you
courts seem to think it's okay,
What do you feel this guy did right, wrong? Like,
So-
what do you feel about this article?
from what you know.
So I do like that he stepped in, whether he had a firearm or not. I feel that this was something that was just so egregious that I think someone needed to step in. Could he simply have stepped back and made a 911 phone call and been a good witness? He was well within his rights to do that. He had no
Because
obligation.
She could have been dead.
She absolutely. So a shod foot or a kick to the head, a stomp. But it doesn't take much, to especially if you've got a strong male.
He had to have pulled a firearm because if this guy is seeing red and he's beating this poor woman half to
It
death,
would make sense.
what would stop him in his tracks not to do that anymore?
I can see that. I don't
think-
disagree.
What do you? I don't understand. If he did,
Well,
He
if-
thinks that something needs to be big and bold in the face.
Yeah,
Oh,
what
yeah.
to get his attention.
I
Right.
mean, because we don't know if he pulled a gun.
nothing short of pulling a firearm would have stopped this guy. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
if he's in a rage and he's beating this woman, and then all of a sudden he sees you, and whatever it is you're doing stops him dead in his tracks. He quit beating on her.
Yeah, going up and saying, "Hey," or calling the cops. Calling the cops, she would have been.
Well, I don't
she
even
would,
know
she would
if
have been
A
dead.
would have done it.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It
Hey,
might have
wouldn't have done
redirected
it.
his rage.
A knife wouldn't have done, but lethal force absolutely stopped this guy's
Yeah.
brutal attack.
Right.
And there was no time to call the police.
Oh, no, of course not.
There's no
Because by the
time.
time
They
the
can't
cops
be
got
everywhere.
there.
They
Yeah.
can't.
No, and
They respond.
let's face it. I mean, by
Right.
the time the cops got there, it could
Now,
have been over.
we were talking about in the last segment that Florida is, stand your ground
Mm-hmm.
and castle doctrine. Neither one of those really apply here. Certainly, castle doctrine doesn't apply because that has to do with your
Correct.
home.
Right.
But stand your ground doesn't apply here.
Had you have needed to actually use the firearm and actually press that trigger, it would have played a role. But it's as far as what I see here, not so much. But the idea is that did the force that was being put upon this woman, did that meet the standard to be able to use deadly force if necessary? And I would have to say yes. I don't know how you guys feel.
Well, what makes you say yes? Like, how do you determine that?
Well, so it's stomping to the head and stomping the upper body chest. Could that potentially cause death or great bodily harm?
Of course.
Absolutely.
So we've had this discussion before, and and everybody tells me no.
Really?
No, where?
Well, I haven't
No to what?
I haven't finished yet.
All right.
And the fact is, what if you shot the guy just to wound him?
No.
See, that's what you guys always say.
You shoot to stop the threat. So whatever the threat is,
If you
that
shot
needs
him
to
in
be
the
stopped.
thigh, let's say.
If you try to shoot a target
Well,
as small as a thigh,
Yeah,
Well, it would
there's
hurt.
do you think that it would stop him?
Would
you
change it. It would get his attention,
It usually makes him more mad.
and then you shoot him in the head. I'll give the first shot.
but there's a very fine. There's a very there's a very nuanced distinction here.
Right.
What Alisha is saying is you shoot to stop the attack.
Right.
So you don't shoot to kill somebody.
That's what I just said.
You don't shoot to wound somebody. You shoot to stop the attack. And the most effective way to stop an attack
To kill him.
is
Center
to shoot
mass.
him in the center mass. Shoot him in the chest. Now, will that kill him? Probably.
Depends on
you
what you're shooting him with.
certainly don't want an ounce of lead in your abdomen.
No.
Generally, that's bad. But so we're not. So when people say, "Hey, don't shoot to wound," they're not. It's not necessary. What they're saying is shoot to stop the attack, and shooting somebody in the thigh won't necessarily stop the attack. So if someone's shooting you and you shoot them in the thigh, most likely they can still pull the trigger.
No, I'm not talking. Well, but see, he didn't have a gun. I'm talking about somebody that's beating up somebody, doesn't have a firearm. So the question would be, well, too bad John didn't call in.
Yeah.
Where would that land in a court of law? Say I shot you. Say you were beating up on some girl, and I shot you in the leg, and it took you down.
Adrenaline kicks in. It may not take him down as
Alicia,
much as you think.
Well, you got two
If-
legs.
if-
Shoot the other one.
That's a good. Alicia, what do you think? Do you think that if someone, does it matter where he shot the victim?
I think it's more about why, not where. Personally,
From a legality?
Well,
correct.
you were a lawyer, right?
play one on TV.
That's one of the other things that you did.
I stayed in at your what's the
I'm
hotel? I don't
just
know.
thinking. I mean, let's face it. I don't care how angry you are. Well, something he did stopped him dead in his tracks,
Correct.
and he didn't shoot him.
Correct. Which is lucky for this guy. But had he have shot him, I feel he would have been justified.
No. I agree, but you're right.
Did the guy live? I forget.
Yes.
They never killed him.
The
He
the,
didn't
vic-
shoot.
the
girl?
girl?
Yes, she did.
no, the girl lived, and the guy who was attacking her lived.
He went to jail.
Interesting.
Mhm.
I wonder. Well, maybe he didn't say where he shot him.
He didn't. It
He didn't
doesn't
shoot him at all,
state.
though.
I think had he have shot, I think that would have been mentioned. It just simply states that the
Oh,
use of the
oh, yeah.
firearm
Yeah.
stopped the
See,
attack.
he just pulled.
So-
maybe he pulled a gun. Well, that's.
Yeah.
It is
See,
a
we
bit of
don't
an
even know
assumption
that.
that I don't know if he brandished. I don't know if maybe
Right.
he pulled and pointed in but didn't trigger press. We don't know. The article's not clear enough for us to know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, and again, the point here, the reason we want to start doing these is because, 1 to 3 million times,
Yeah.
depending on how you.
He could have shot
think-
into the ceiling.
No.
Well, they were in a parking lot.
Well, I know, but the noise alone.
I have, by the way, I interviewed somebody years ago who sent a warning. Here's a warning shot's that's a whole different thing.
That's
a
a
warning
no-no.
shot is, if you have time to send a warning shot,
Your life's not at great risk.
Your life's not in danger, right?
Well, I'm saying if two other people are fighting and you want to stop it,
I know somebody
hitting them with a garden hose.
who
Discharging a firearm in city limits.
Yeah, San Diego
That's a charge,
PD.
too.
Yeah, San Diego PD arrested a guy not too long. Well, this is about 10 years ago now.
Yeah, that's your idea.
That was
But
just
ruined his
yesterday.
life they ruined this guy's life for a warning shot.
Okay.
There were a couple people that were causing problems. I don't remember the details, but ruined his life for a warning shot. But anyway, the reason we want to do this, we really want to start bringing attention, talking about. I don't know if we really want to do a huge analysis like John Correa does, not that level of analysis, but I think a discussion around the
different
subject
scenarios.
and what happens.
Just different scenarios.
What
You
to
know-
keep people thinking? Because if you choose to, whether you're carrying a firearm or you simply have it in your home for self-defense, if you haven't really thought some of these things through, I think you're not doing yourself any favors. You need to
Well-
kind of think these possibilities through.
But the only problem I see is we can sit here and say, well, this is what I would do.
Armchair quarterback.
This is what I would do. Well, you don't know
Yeah.
what you're going to do
That's what I'm saying. I
until
don't,
the scenario comes up.
that's what I don't think we want to do, and that's really more of like a John Correa level. I think
Yeah.
what we want to do is just kind of talk about, well, this happened and that happened, and this is interesting, and I'm assuming it happened because of this and that sort of thing. Certainly don't want to second guess people. I mean, unless it's obvious. Sometimes it's pretty obvious,
Right.
Well, if there's
Because even like you were talking about that guy from Texas earlier, shot somebody from the back, blah
back,
blah
yeah,
blah.
yeah.
It's not totally obvious to me that what he did was wrong.
yeah, no, I
The
don't.
first
You know,
half.
so that's why I'm like, let's see how this goes.
Well, and but see there again, you just never know.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're a qualified firearms person, you don't need 9 shots.
Well, it's not only about the skills of the person. You don't know what the condition is of the person that needs to be taken down.
Yeah.
Drugs
Well, in this
involved. You
case,
never know.
The guy was laying on his stomach.
Oh, I saw it. I've seen it.
So I think
I haven't seen the whole. Now
I've seen the whole thing.
I have
See?
not seen the whole video.
we're going to get you a TV because you don't watch TV.
They weren't. Well, no, that's why I couldn't see it. Is they
Actually,
weren't
it was on-
playing the whole thing? How did you
No.
guys see the whole video?
Online.
online.
Yeah.
I don't
Get
go.
you a phone.
I don't go to those parts of the web, people.
You're just not old enough. Hey, is there a better tool that empowers a woman to defend against an attacker that's 100 pounds heavier? Well, that's why it's so important for women to learn how to defend themselves with the most effective self-defense tool ever invented. For women led by men, the Not Me program is designed to help training, purchasing a gun, and getting a concealed carry permit. Guess what? It's totally free. To sign up, go to notmesd.org. The program is also available in Orange County and Inland Empire. Get help today at notmesd.org.
All right, Dave, real quick before we move on, go back to that middle area where it says in capital letters "women."
Women?
Yeah, read that one sentence again.
For women led by women?
That's not what you said.
What
the
did I
first
say?
time.
No,
For
what is
women led by men.
Did I say that?
Yeah.
Women.
Women.
They
led-
put the woo in men.
I lost the
Women.
wool.
All right, we're going to talk about. Everybody knows Sam the Gunman from Stump My Nephew, but he's also started to write a bunch of articles for us, and he's doing a fantastic job. And he wrote a particularly interesting article, so I wanted to give him a whole segment rather than just a preview, like we do. You know, we ask him the question,
And then try to embarrass him.
try to embarrass him.
Yeah, I know.
He embarrasses us.
You're
and
going to
then
be nice to him now.
But then we ask him just to give us a little preview on the article. Rather than just a little preview, we're going to have him talk about the whole article because it was that interesting. Sam, how you doing, man?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Fantastic. So let's talk about. So the article is based on what's happening with bump stocks. Why don't we do this? First off, what's the name of the article?
The article is called "Let Them Fight It Out in the Courts," and it is available on the SDCGO blog, San Diego County GunOwners.com/blog, and it's the first one after the pinned post.
Sandy, I think it's up on Inland Empire's gun website too, and Orange County's as well. I think it's up on all three, but you can definitely get it at San Diego, so check it out. Okay, so talk about the article, but before you do that, can you give about just a little 1-2? What exactly is? Bring us up to speed on the bump stock ban. What happened? What's happening? And then where are we at?
All right. The quick version, the back of the envelope version is in 2018, the Trump administration passed basically by direction of the executive, ATF reinterpreted the law to make bump fire stocks illegal, reclassified them as machine guns, made them illegal. 4 years later, 4 years and 1 month later, just this month, the Fifth U.S. Circuit Court, or the Fifth District Circuit Court of Appeals, Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, struck that down as unconstitutional and illegal. So theoretically, 4 years later, they should be legal again.
So why? Okay, so why is it? So it's really about the process.
Exactly.
It's not about what. It's not about. It's not a. It's not about a bump stock. It's not about whether or not you like bump stocks or dislike bump stocks or think bump stocks are cool. It's really about the procedure, how they went about doing this, right?
It is, exactly. It's and that's sort of the angle I take in my blog post. When this was happening 4 years ago, I heard a lot of people saying things like, and again, I'm just touching on stuff that I already wrote. So if you want the full version, you guys can go read it, and I would love that. But a lot of people were saying, well, I don't own one, so it doesn't affect me. Well, I didn't own one either. Frankly, I think bump fire stocks are kind of dumb. But the way the government went about doing it is kind of ATF's MO, which is they're an enforcement agency. They're part of the Department of Justice. They are charged with enforcing a part of the tax code, which is the National Firearms Act and certain associated laws. But what they end up doing is they take advantage of the sort of lack of clarity in some of the legislation, and they're allowed a lot of leeway in how they interpret those laws. So every few years, they come out and reinterpret a law that's already on the books to change what is and isn't a crime.
That's okay, why can't they do that? What's the proper? Let's say they did want to do this, which I'm not even sure there is a constitutional way to ban a bump stock. But if they did, what at least procedurally would have been the proper way to go about it?
Procedurally, in my professional opinion, the proper way to go about that type of thing would be to have it go through Congress, just like any other law, just like the NFA did in 1934, just like the Gun Control Act did in 1968, just like the Firearm Owners Protection Act did in 1986. This stuff is supposed to go through the legislature and be debated. Laws are not supposed to be made by people who are not elected and who have no part in the lawmaking process. ATF is an enforcement agency.
Yeah, bureaucracy. It's just bureaucracy. Okay, so that's what you just described. That's not even that's not the guts of the article. That's really the context of the article. So what was the point of the article? Give us the meat and potatoes of the article.
Well, I really touch on a lot of things. I try to keep the readers interested with a variety of different things to look at and pay attention to. But something else I mentioned that I know you and I talked about a little bit is how people kind of ignored what was going on back in 2018 because Trump was in office. I heard out here in Virginia, which it's kind of a purple state, but a lot of people in my area voted for Trump in 2016. People were saying like something along the lines of, "Oh, he would never do that," and then he did. Or they would sort of figure out ways to creatively reinterpret things that their guy said, Donald Trump said, in ways that made him seem less bad. And they wound up with a lot of egg on their faces when he did actually end up going after bump fire stocks and circumventing the legal process to do so.
Interesting. So why was it important for you to write this article? What really was the catalyst? What made you want to write this article?
Well, it was topical, and it gave me a really good opportunity to discuss this ongoing problem of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, in my mind and in many people's minds, grossly overreaching their area of responsibility and essentially legislating through reinterpretation, which is a very sketchy type of behavior. And it also gave me an opportunity to talk about how you shouldn't just blindly defend a politician because he or she happens to have the letter R next to his name or the letter D next to his name. You have to look at what these politicians are actually doing and saying and make up your mind based on that.
Exactly. There are no friends in politics. You don't have any friends in politics. I don't care who you are. I don't care who the person is. You do not have any friends in politics. You only have temporary allies. And, the other thing I really liked about this article is it really helped to illustrate that one thing that's really, it's difficult to make clear, and that is that, I've been saying for a while now that the Republican Party is nothing more than, they're just the second worst Second Amendment party. That's all they are. You cannot look to the Republican Party to save your Second Amendment rights. You cannot rely on the Republican Party to maintain your Second Amendment rights. Time and time again. Now, does that mean Democrats aren't worse? No, of course they're worse. They have a much worse history. They have a much worse platform when it comes to the Second Amendment.
But they don't try to hide it.
But they don't try to hide it. Exactly. So yeah, they tell you, hey, we're going to ban your guns.
I'm going to get your guns. Get
and then
ready.
then they actually try to do it. Republicans, they just
No.
look, we're not going to ban. Yeah. So they use the air quotes. We're not going to ban your guns. Air quotes. We're just going to ban your guns.
Yeah.
Well, if we ban your guns, we're going to phase it in over 3 years.
And you're never going to see them anyway. So don't.
Or what my favorite is look, an assault weapons, an assault weapons law. We're not going to take your gun. We're going to let you keep your gun, but then you can never buy a gun like it ever again, and no one else can either. I mean, those kind of shenanigans are exactly.
And that's all they are, shenanigans.
That's exactly what the Republican Party. Now, I got to tell you, I think that I can't really think of a more pro-Second Amendment president than Donald Trump. But that doesn't mean that he didn't mess up. That things under his administration that were bad for gun owners didn't happen.
Right.
But I mean, the other part of that is you really can only look at the modern era when you look at presidents of the Second Amendment because, nothing happened for, 150 years. I mean, until 1934, really nothing happened. But then every president after that's, been either lackluster or bad.
They just kick it down there.
And that includes, people like Ronald Reagan, which everybody, he's a Republican, and we heard all kinds of really great memes about him. But that kind of stuff is, we're not going to get anywhere if we trust the Republican Party. We're certainly not going to get anywhere if we don't call out people that are quote unquote friends when they do something wrong, when they do something anti-Second Amendment, which is exactly what you're doing, Sam. And I think that what you did is extremely important.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. And what you just said reminds me of something Eric Blandford said, of whom I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar. And he said that when Trump was in office and Congress was controlled by Republicans, pro-gun legislation, pro-2A legislation should have been like picking off a Taco Bell menu. We should have had basically free run of protecting our rights, or rather our congressmen should have, but not a single piece of pro-2A legislation was passed during that time. We didn't get the Hearing Protection Act. We didn't get any reclassification of anything on the NFA.
Didn't get reciprocity.
Didn't get national reciprocity.
Yeah.
No, that's the easiest thing. That is the easiest thing.
But we didn't get it. But what we did get under Trump and a Republican Congress is we got a bump stock ban, number one. And number two, the other thing we got is more thorough and improved background checks, which was a part of the reciprocity bill, where they left the reciprocity bill on the cutting room floor. Anyway, excellent job. Another point in time when Republicans, so-called Republican or pro-Second Amendment Republicans, we should have gotten a whole lot, was 2000. When Bush was a Texas governor got elected president, we had a Republican Congress, nothing to show for it. Nothing to show for it. Anyway, fantastic article. Stay tuned.
Yeah,
we're going to talk to we're going to do Stump My Nephew next, Dave.
Yeah, you got it, brother. Self-defense event happens in seconds. In the time it takes to listen to this commercial, your life can change forever. I pray you're never forced to shoot in self-defense, but if you must, then you must be ready. That's why USCCA exists, because every responsibly armed American should have the training and education to navigate a self-defense situation. And should you ever need it, the 24/7 critical response team is right there for you. To discover more about USCCA, visit uscca.com/GOR.
Critical what?
Critical race. Act now, because the life you save could be your own. That's uscca.com/GOR.
Hey, so
what do you got?
we have, so our everybody's favorite segment, Stump My Nephew,
Yeah.
Sam, the gunman, right?
You got a sticker that says
So if you actually do stump him, you now get, of course, you get a special prize, but you also get, we just made something cool.
Yeah.
Rich made something cool. Look at that. You get a patch.
Oh, it should say I did. I stumped Sam.
Yeah.
Look
at that.
Sam.
What do you think, Jackson?
Now they're making apparel to come after you.
I know.
Looks awesome.
Can you see it in the camera? Is that good? Yeah. There you go. So I don't think we've given one of these out yet. I don't know. They're not retroactive. So if you've already stumped Sam,
Let me see.
don't call in or email.
Because you don't
in.
even know how it goes on, do you?
What do you mean?
How do you attach it to something?
You lick it.
No,
You lick it and
don't.
then stick it on your.
No, you don't.
Pretty sure that's how.
No, it's for you use an iron.
I don't know. Do you use iron? I think
used
you have
to
to
do
sew
it.
it.
I had my own little business for a while.
Is it just ironing? I think you got to sew it.
You could sew it on, but if you take and put that on your shirt, jacket, or hat, put a
iron
towel over it, and then count 60 seconds, then turn it over, do the other side, and it'll stay forever.
Is that business still going?
What?
That business still going?
No.
I'd recommend that you
I
put
bought
it in
just after Dale Earnhardt Sr. died.
If you get one of these, I would recommend that you don't sew it or iron it. I would put this in a safe deposit box. They're that valuable.
You should number
for
them.
safekeeping.
Well, yeah, because if you win one, that's
only-
super rare.
We only made one, so we figured because we know we're not gonna have to give it away. Sam, how's it going, man? Excellent segment there. Appreciate all the writing that you're doing for San Diego County gun owners. Again, if you want to read, and for Inland Empire and for Orange County gun owners, if you want to read Sam's articles along with Joe's articles, along with occasional other guest writers, then please go to our website, SanDiegoCountyGunOwners.com. Go to the blog. Go to InlandEmpireGunOwners.com. Go to the blog. Go to OrangeCountyGunOwners.com. Go to the blog. So, you ready for your question?
Yeah, let's have it. Hopefully you won't have to give away that patch so soon.
Yeah, man. Don't let us down. Don't make us have to order another patch, Sam. All right. Action Jackson, fire away. Who's this from?
Ibrahim from Los Angeles asks, what is the difference between the civilian and military versions of the SIG Sauer P320?
There you go.
What was that, Ibrahim from Los Angeles?
That's who that is.
Thank you very much for writing in. Sorry you have to live in Los Angeles, but, someone's got to take for the team.
Yeah.
What is the difference between the civilian and military versions of the SIG Sauer P320? As most of you know, the U.S. military has switched away from their legacy pistols to the M17 and M18 modular handgun system, which are variants of the P320. They are distinctive because of their color, but you can get civilian pistols in the flat dark earth or tactical beige, as I like to call it. But they are significant for having manual safeties, which other versions of the P320 do not. And on the M17, the slide extends past the frame. On typical P320s, if it's a full size, it'll have a full length dust cover. If it's a compact, it has the compact size dust cover. The M17 is the only variant where the slide actually hangs over. Though if you want one of those and you don't live in California, you can buy an M17 or M18 on the civilian market.
Way to rub that in, Sam.
No. So, okay. So first off, you totally nailed it. I think you hit more than he even included.
He even knew.
But okay, 6 Sauer P320 is a 9mm pistol, semi-automatic, right?
Correct.
Is it what is it? Striker fire?
It is striker fired. You can actually convert them to different calibers. There's this system. They call it a modular chassis system. SIG likes to pretend they invented it. They didn't. Steyr did, but SIG popularized it, where the serialized component unlike like on a Glock or an M&P, the serialized part is the frame. It's all one unit. So if you want to buy a different size frame, then that's a whole new gun. On the P320 platform, the serialized component is what they call the fire control unit, which is this stamped metal chassis that houses the trigger and all the fire control components. So you can switch frame sizes and switch slides, change calibers and all that stuff just by buying new parts over the counter.
It's awesome.
I was having a hard, I was actually looking just last week for the conversion for the 9mm. I couldn't find it.
What do you mean you couldn't find it? Like on the internet, or you couldn't find it?
I could only find it like on eBay used. Like I don't know if they're redoing the 9. Sam, do you have any insight on that? Why am I having a hard time finding it?
I do not, but I can tell you that SIG does not make enough parts and guns, and I have my own. This is a little bit of a sore spot, so I'm going to try to keep the complaining to a minimum. But it's always tough to find some of their most in-demand parts that they should know to make more of. It seems like they're artificially limiting the supply.
And what? Talk a little bit. Okay, so the M17 and M18. What's the difference between the 17 and the 18? They're both P320s technically, but what is the difference between the M17 and the M18?
The only differences are the slide length and barrel length. The M17 has a, I want to say 4.7 inch barrel, and the M18 has like a 3.8 or a 4 inch barrel. The Army opted for the M17 for most soldiers to be issued pistols, and the M18 for people like CID who want something or need something a little bit more compact because of their job requirements. All the other services opted for the M18, which is a little bit shorter.
That's interesting. Okay, so if you see somebody, generally if you see somebody in uniform or in BDUs or whatever, they're going to be carrying an M17.
In ACUs, they're called, but yes.
ACUs?
Yeah, Army Combat Uniform. That's
what did you say, BDC?
Oh, they're not BDUs anymore?
No, they had to change the acronym because it's the military, so they like changing acronyms, but it's a different uniform.
Right. Okay, so if you see somebody, in a uniform, they're probably going to be carrying an M17. The M18, it's more for people that are carrying concealed or investigators, that sort of thing. Is that what I'm understanding?
Within the Army, yes. If the person you're looking at is in a service other than the Army, it is an M18. So Marines, M18s, Air Force has M18s. The Navy, I believe, is getting M18s, but they're usually last in line for pistols.
Oh my gosh. So the Army got M18s, but most of the folks that are carrying are, if they're carrying, it's probably going to be an M17. That's interesting. So like 90, let's see. Well, let me think. That's not true. Yeah, like 80-90% of the military bought the M18s, and then the Army just has these M17s for like MPs and.
So I guess you're just not going to join up.
And the only difference is the barrel length, really.
Exactly. Yeah, and they use the exact same frame, they use the exact same everything else. You can convert back and forth between the two if you have the longer slide and longer barrel. Everything else is identical, hence modular handgun system. It's designed to be messed with, different size frames, theoretically caliber conversions and things like that. Though, as far as I'm aware, they only purchased the medium-size grip frames.
Interesting. All right, Ibrahim, well, thank you for the question. You're going to get a hat or a T-shirt, but you did not stump my nephew. Now, Sam, have you ever shot a 320?
I have shot a P320. They're fine. I have some complaints about the pistol on a mechanical basis, but I personally did not shoot it that well.
Alisha's laughing.
I'm more comfortable with Glocks.
Why don't you like?
I'm just curious what his complaint is.
Yeah, what's your complaint?
About the mechanical stuff?
Yeah.
I would have to spend too much time, more than is available over the radio. I'll have to write it out in essay form.
His next blog.
Jackson, you shoot a 320, don't you?
Yeah.
You went from a Glock to a 320?
Yeah, SIG M17 320.
And what do you think, bud? You like it?
Yeah, it's awesome.
You like it better than your Glock?
Just the tad is a bit.
Just the tattest of bits. All right.
The trigger is much superior to what you get on stock Glocks, and because of the modularity, they are very, very popular on the competition circuit, at least out here. There are lots of special competition models.
And you said it's got an external manual
2 minutes.
Safety, right? Where is that where did they add that?
It is ambidextrous on the rear part of the frame where you would expect the manual safety to be on, like anything else, like on a 1911.
So I don't really like manual safeties, but but as far as manual safeties go, they did a pretty good job.
This was part of the military requirement, so even the Glock submission had a manual safety. It's easy to reach, but not too easy to accidentally engage. I think the safety is well executed, at least in terms of
Glock
placement.
with a manual safety. That's like, I don't know what that's
Well,
like.
the
That's
SIG,
like
it makes sense. It's a hammerfire gun. You don't want to have that without a
but
safety.
a Glock with a manual safety is that's like
Sacrilege.
that's like the USS Enterprise and Chewbacca at the helm. That's what that is. It's exactly like that. All right, Sam. Awesome job.
Well, thanks for having me on, as always.
All right, we'll check in with you next week.